Okay, welcome back. It's been quite a while since we've done those two music nerds podcast. I'm me, that's he, and we're gonna talk about a few albums and records and 7 inches and CDs that we've been listening to, or recent purchases or whatever else. I want to go ahead and say that this podcast goes out to the memory of Riley Gale, lead singer for the mighty thrash band Power Trip. Rest in peace. Sad news this week. We got to see them at Exit 111 Festival last year, and super glad that we did. Became one of my favorite metal bands of the current era. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Key, and he's going to run through a few albums that he's been into lately.
Alright, so first up, I'm going to be talking about an album I got in the mail yesterday that I've been kind of quite attached to lately. New Dreams Ltd. Sleepline. And Sleepline is another album under Vectroid's wide discography under the name New Dreams Ltd., one of her more common aliases. This is probably one of my favorite Vectroid albums, to be honest, and I'm so glad that I could pick it up on the CD. It's very interesting. Like, the sampling is very creative. All the samples come from Japanese airline and holiday commercials ranging from the 70s to the 90s, and you might be saying, how is anyone going to make music with that? Well, it actually really fits on most of the songs, like, to be honest. Like on Blue Earth, Surrounded, Dig Dream is like the best track on the album. It's beautiful. It's very creative. I love it. It's really good. You should definitely check it out if you're like into vaporwave and samples and stuff like that. It's a very interesting album. Alright, next up, Radiohead's Amnesiac. Probably their weirdest album ever, in my opinion. It's very depressing. I honestly love this album. Like, it's super weird. I think it's pretty cool. You should check it out. Bjork, Post. This album is just a classic. Bjork is an amazing singer from Iceland. She has so many good songs on here. Army of Me, Hyperbulb, The Modern Things, It's Oh So Quiet, Possibly Maybe. I mean, pretty much all the songs on here are just amazing and beautiful. I just love Bjork. Her music is really good. Next two albums are the first two Gorillaz albums. The second one, Demon Days, which is probably their best album in my opinion. It's amazing. Like, I would consider this probably a classic album, to be honest. So many good songs. Kids with Guns, Dirty Harry is like a groove. It's so good. Feel Good Inc., El Mañana is just beautiful. Dare, that was a big hit off of the album. It's just a great album. And then their debut album, self-titled album, Gorillaz. This one is very trip-hoppy, it's very chill, it's very lax. I like it. There's a lot of good songs on here, and there's so many underrated songs on here too, like New Genius Brother, 5-4. Latin Simone is amazing. M1A1, I actually kind of like that song. Yeah. Last of the CDs that I have to show is Pink Floyd's Animals, a great Pink Floyd EP. 5 songs, and the songs are just very long songs. 17 minutes. It's amazing. It's really good. It's really good psychedelic rock. Pink Floyd is really good. And that's pretty much all the CDs, and I have 2 more albums that are vinyl that I have to show you. And the first one is James Ferraro's album, Clear. I got this off Discogs for like $20-something. It's a really interesting album. It's like new age, ambient, very relaxing music to listen to. I quite enjoy it, and the art I feel like very fits this, and the back art, which I've never even seen, is just so aquatic and beautiful. It's a great album. Great album. All right, next album everyone will hate because it's noise. But I honestly could give a crap. It is Merzbow's Pulse Demon. If you are a fan of noise music, this would be considered a classic. I honestly think that some of this actually sounds kind of musical in some areas. I actually enjoy it. Songs that I like on here are Woodpecker Number 2, Ultramarine Blues, and Worms Plastic Earthbound. It's just, and this isn't just like your regular noise album anyway. It's kind of like psychedelic noise, if I were to describe it as something more. Like, it's very psychedelic, and honestly, it kind of sounds like you're on a space station. And it's a gatefold, and the art is very trippy and cool. If you're into noise music, you've probably already heard of this. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool noise.
Nice. All right, I got a few here I'll go over with. First one is Harvest, Years of Defiance, Years of Disgust. This came out on Good Fight Records. Got this one recently. It's a little 7-inch. The vinyl itself is pretty cool. It's a clear 7-inch. This was a band that honestly kind of not one of the more popular bands of this genre, kind of the metallic hardcore, metalcore sort of, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were kind of riding the wave with like the Coalesce and a lot of bands like that. I remember first hearing this band on a compilation CD. I don't remember exactly what the record label that put it out, but it had several bands on it. And this was one of the few that stuck out. And just really good, like really heavy stuff, kind of in the vein of like Coalesce and an older Cave-In, back when Cave-In was playing like metalcore and really heavy hardcore stuff. So there's 4 tracks on it, 2 tracks on each side of the record. Really cool, just good, like late 90s, early 2000s. Well, actually it came out in 2011, but it still has that kind of late 90s, early 2000s metallic hardcore, metalcore sound. Good stuff. The next one is a 7-inch I got. This one is by a grindcore band out in LA called Whelm. And anybody that watches Netflix that has seen the show Atypical may or may not know about this, but the main cast member on that show is the lead singer for this band. And that's, I was watching that show and got into the show. It's a really cool show about this teenage high school kid with high functioning autism, and really cool show. And like I do with everything, I'm a nerd, and I researched the characters and the actors and stuff that I wasn't already familiar with, and found out, hey, this dude's actually a huge grindcore and death metal guy. He's actually got a death metal band and a grindcore band. So I ordered this one straight from the guys. It's got 4 songs, 2 on each side. Just good, angry, crazy grindcore, man. Good stuff. Whelm. Check them out if you haven't already. All right. I got a few CDs I'm going to go over. One of my guilty pleasures over the years, Jamiroquai. This is their synchronized album that had one of their biggest hits, Canned Heat, from the Napoleon Dynamite movie.
That scene was amazing.
The scene where Napoleon dances in trying to help Pedro win the election. So anyway, this is
Pedro, guys.
This has got the album version on it, not the movie version, so it's a little different and longer, of course. But I've liked Jamiroquai ever since the mid-90s when they had their first big hit single, Virtual Insanity.
That song was amazing.
And really, these guys are not like, they're a one-hit wonder pop sensation. I mean, these guys are really like, they're kind of classified in the acid jazz category. And I noticed the musicianship from that first song. when I dug a little bit deeper into them. I mean, the bass playing, the drumming, incredible. These guys have had a long career.
Yeah, I've listened to that album too.
Seriously
It's really
great
good.
band. And they're not just some, they had a couple of hits and, that kind of thing. I've always liked the vocals, very unique singing. Really good stuff. I don't care if you like it or not. Next, Cult of Luna, the Beyond. Good post-metal in the vein of, and they're in the family tree of Neurosis and Isis and Amon-Ra and those kind of bands. These guys are incredible. This one came out on Earache Records. Everything's great on it. This band is great, and I think a little bit underrated because usually, Neurosis and Isis kind of get the bulk of the credit when it comes to that family tree that branches out, and I think Cult of Luna is right up there with them. Great stuff. Last but not least, obviously, in honor of Riley Gale passing away, Power Trip, Nightmare Logic. Great album. Came out on Southern Lord Records in 2017. Every song on here is amazing. Executioner's Tax, of course, kind of one of their big anthems off of this album. These guys really, in my opinion, were one of the best crossover thrash bands of the modern era, really going back to the old school thrash sound and the crossover thrash sound from the late 80s, early 90s.
They sounded great live.
Amazing band live. This album really could be the soundtrack to 2020 and all the crap that the universe has dumped on everybody. But then again, lots of really heavy, angry music and metal music could easily be the soundtrack for 2020. So we'll see what happens in 2021. But so far, this is pretty much sums it up. Nightmare Logic. Good stuff. Check it out. Rest in peace, Riley Gale.
Because 2020 is a nightmare, and that's just plain logic.
And that's been us from those two music nerds. We'll see you again sometime.
Bye.
Who knows when?
Listen to Sleep Line.